We have stairs! We have stairs!
A staircase! We have stairs!
Nope. Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears and the fortress of financial ruin. We are here in my Garage and ADU project. This is a project that is 10 years in the making. We finally broke ground in 2020, and I had hired a longtime friend of mine to build it. And after we did demolition, he decided he was going to take my money and buy himself a house and a new truck, leaving me with a hole in the ground and $90,000 poorer. But after a lot of pain and heartache, we are back on track and things are happening in my garage and ADU. This is all thanks in large part to hiring a real contractor who is licensed and bonded in the state of California. And since I am now about $250,000 in the hole with this project, we got to do a lot of things ourselves. And so with the work going on, there is some things that I can do that I need to do if I'm going to do it, namely CAT6. You see, I'm no stranger when it comes to CAT6. I've done an install in my house. It's all low voltage, so none of it is bound by any kind of code. So I am pretty much free to do whatever I want. There's just some best practices along the way that I'm going to need to follow. Now, I have placed the camera in a spot where you don't really see any of the work I've done, and that's because I'm filming this out of sequence. And that is because, well, this ended up being a very different project than I intended. This ended up taking a lot longer. This ended up being a lot more involved. But the journey was worth it. So let's go back in time when I was a little younger, a little more naive, and I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to get to work. So here is the entry into the loft here, and it is this wall. This is the east wall that needs to have shear wall, and it needs shear wall because of these giant windows that we have put in. And those windows were not really on the plans because the plans were botched just a little bit. The original plans had this weird cave around the stairwell, and then there was another page on the plans that didn't have it because we wanted to move it to the exterior, all sort of stuff. So the compromise was to just put a shear wall here. So that means that we're going to need to put everything that we want in this wall so that we can do a shear wall and get the inspection. So for the CAT6 project, I want to have a box down here, right here, next close-ish to the outlets. I don't necessarily have any plans at this time for what I'm going to do there, but I really want that scalability because someday I may want to move a TV there. Someday I may want to put my office there. I don't know yet. So I'm standing in Home Depot looking at these plastic boxes. I called up my electrician and he said, just use a plaster ring. And by the way, I have plaster rings already on site. So they're, I think, in that crate right there. So I made a completely needless run to Home Depot, but that's okay because now I've got some great ideas. So we've got a solution for mounting the keystone plate. We've got measurements on all of the cabling. The last of my concerns with this installation is how I'm going to secure it. Now, we don't want to use staples because staples could just go right through the Ethernet cable. They tend to damage pretty easily. And so I was talking to one of the guys at Home Depot, and he said, look at our network cables up in the ceiling of Home Depot. He said, they're just zip tied together. And I thought, hey, that's an idea. I can just zip tie the wires and then staple the zip tie. So now I have all of my ducks in a row. I can begin this installation, and even better, with the electrical run, I know exactly where I need to run these cables because you don't want to run Ethernet too close for too long to electrical lines because you get interference. But in this wall, since I wanted to put the outlet here, we have a very nice open path right along these joists here because we intersect, and we intersect, but we are far enough away from, for example, this line that we're not going to get any interference. So now that I have a really good general idea of where I'm going to run this, let's talk about where I'm going to run it to. So over here, we have our closet. This closet is going to be used as a server room, basically. And in this wall, I'm thinking right here so that I can run 24 ports into this wall. So it would be something like 8, 16, 24, or 8, 16, 24, most likely. I think that would look a lot better. And then I can use that either in addition to or instead of a patch panel. So for this initial pull, what I'm going to do is, since I only have one box of 1,000 foot, I am going to pull one wire up and I'm going to run it where I think it needs to be run. And I'm going to drill the holes and I'm going to get my measurement and then cut that, and then I can replicate that pole 3 more times, and I can have the 4 wires that I want to run to my outlet. This is progressing a little more slowly than I thought it would, but I am so far quite happy with the results. The biggest problem here is the battery on my drill, and my drill just is not the right tool for this job. It's getting it done, but it's getting it done very slowly. So I have the TV room run. I was considering putting a plate behind the TV, but I figured any devices that are attached to the TV can just be connected with Wi-Fi, or I'll just run a cable down. Because if I'm running cables up from like a console box or something, it can just run from there as well. So I've got 4 that are gonna run next to this outlet. This is gonna be enough for gaming consoles or any of that sort of thing. Also, I had a lot to think about in this corner because this area is where my office is going to be. I want to have... See, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do here quite yet, because I really like the idea of having an L desk with the ability to look out the window, but at the same time, I got to be able to see my screen. So there's not a lot of room for a screen here, but there is a lot of room for a screen here. And I may want to do a wall-mounted computer. So in order to have access to a computer sitting here or a computer sitting here, I'm going to put 4 ports right here, because there's an outlet right there, and that's probably what I will run power from. There's also an outlet way over there, but nothing in this corner here. So I'm going to put it here. We're going to run through this top plate and then straight across and then back down. So I've finished running the drops for the second story, but there's still some room for improvement here. So I have been posting up pictures to my brother and a good friend of mine who are both network engineers or network administrators. I don't know what their title is, but this stuff is their bread and butter. And they had some really great advice for me. The first being that I should keep the Ethernet lines away from the Romex. Now, it's not a deal breaker. It's not really a problem if it has to intersect here and there. Ideally, you want these to intersect at 90-degree angles and not to run parallel alongside of a Romex within 6 feet. Did I say 6 feet? I meant 6 inches. So from here, for example, it's just fine because it's more than 6 inches away. But I had it running on the ceiling joists, and they were just kind of running over the Romex cables, which is, like I said, not a big deal, but now it is way far away, and it is basically ideal positioning now. One thing I could do to improve this setup is conduit. I could get that blue conduit, and I'm not sure that I'm going to do that. I just have to go price that out at Home Depot and see if I can get it at a price that that is appealing to me. So I got one of the lines run, and it definitely looks a lot better. But I really don't care about the way it looks. as evidenced by the lack of coupler over there where I've joined two lines together. I just wrapped it in blue tape. I really don't care. None of this matters for shit, for code. The whole point of this is to just make it easier to run a line later on if I needed to replace one of the lines that was in there. So I wanted to avoid things like right angles. I wanted nice smooth angles so that I could get a good pull through. And I've done that. So anybody that says this conduit is awesome obviously hasn't actually worked with it, because it is pretty fucking awful to work with. It wants to coil up. It wants to coil up no matter what you do, where you are. It wants to do that. So it's just flopping and flapping around everywhere, and it's really hard to actually push wire into. So, but fortunately, my contractor stopped by and gave me a quick little pointer. He said, just mount it up on the wall. Mount it up onto the wall, and you'll be able to feed the line in that way. And that's exactly what I did up there, and it worked out really well. So I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do the exact same thing where I leave about probably 6 feet, 7 feet or so exposed, and we're just going to start feeding it in right through here and just push it until I've got the whole thing run through. So if you're one of the people that told me I should do this, I question whether or not you've done this yourself, because if you've done this yourself, you should have warned me that it's an absolute pain in the ass. It may be worth it. I'll find out in 15 years when I have to replace a cable. It's just terrible. The conduit goes wherever it wants to go. Getting the bracket secured is a pain, and then because you're suspended up on rafters, trying not to fucking fall and die, you end up making stupid decisions, and then you have to go back and fix them. So I've had to rehang this thing probably 3 times. But, it looks good now, but damn, this is hard. This is really hard, and I will probably never do it again. Overall, though, this actually really does look great. I'm going to say I don't regret doing it, but I'm also going to say that I probably won't do it again, especially in an attic where no one will ever see it. I'll probably do it in my garage because there is a little bit of a safety aspect to it, and I have enough of that blue bullshit down there to actually make use of it somewhere. Well, it's raining again, and today we're going to start working on the subfloor because we have our CAT6 done to a point that I'm happy with. The next thing that there is to do, that I could possibly do, is finish up this subfloor. So we've got this section over here, and then we've got little sections And that's because the last time I did subfloor, I was lazy. I didn't want to do any cutting, so I just laid out all of the big sheets. Now that all the big sheets are laid out, I'm going to start doing all of my cutting. So before I start with this project, I wanted to prep the area. I wanted to get everything out that didn't need to be here. And with the completion of my shed down there, it is more or less waterproof, or at least waterproof enough that I can put things like a trunk lid and fenders and a broken taillight lens out there and worthless Camaro seats and a door card for the S10. All of that stuff can go out there. Well, I have finished redecorating. Everything's nice and clean, and I am set up to start cutting wood again. I'm going to start over here in this closet because, well, that's a nice big square section. I already have a piece of wood cut. And then I'm going to go out this way from there. I'm not going to do the east wall just yet because my contractor has to do shear wall on the inside of this wall because of these big giant windows. And I am pretty sure the inspector will want to see that shear wall nailed in to the bottom plate. So I want to give my contractor a chance to do that first. We'll get through inspection, and then I'll run subfloor on that little strip there. And as you can see, it's a little bit dark because of the clouds and rain. So I'm going to just skip the time lapse this time around and check in with you when it's done. I was not able to get this section of subfloor done, but I managed to get all of this done. And this took quite a bit of time because it was a lot of close cutting. And you see, I got right up against the bottom plate in a few places. I just have to come back in with my multi-tool and buzz that down a little bit so that there is, you know, just a little bit of a gap. So we're in here in the garage, and my electrician has finally made some progress. He's actually, I would say, 70% there. You can see there's still a lot of conduit that needs to be run. This is where the panel's going to be, so kind of everything goes in here. This is the wire that runs up, but we've got empty boxes. We've got boxes pretty much everywhere they're going to need to be, but there's no wiring pulled through about half of them. Some of them up here, like up here, has wiring pulled through. He's run through the joists, but he has still yet to do the 50 amp EV charging circuit, which was actually the very first thing that he was asked to do, but it turns out to be the last thing he's going to do because, you know, it's not like I'm paying him to do this or anything. He is a really talented electrician. He just doesn't work on the schedule that I thought normal people worked on, but it's okay because it is getting done. Now, I have also been doing some work off and on. Really can't do a whole lot while he's here because I don't want to be in his way. But you see here, I've run CAT6 in conduit down here. This is going to be for the workbench circuit. There's going to be a plate here. This is going to go through here. I've not yet strapped it into the studs yet, but I've got literally all the time in the world. These are going to stay exposed. And then it runs up to the second floor, into the attic, and over into the closet. We have another line that I have run here in smaller conduit. This is a single wire that this is going to be the line in. It's going to connect to the underground buried line. I'm going to put a box here, and there's going to be just a keystone jack that this plugs into. It's going to be basically this right here, but inside of a box with a blank cover on it. That way, if I need to swap out one of the lines, I don't have to run all of it underground and up into the building. I can just, you know, swap out the section that's gone bad. That line that's hanging down right there, I decided that since it's a short run up to the server box, that I can put an access point right there, because why not? I can get really great Wi-Fi coverage if I put another access point right there, and it's just so close that it kind of seems like a no-brainer. I do want to also run a CAT6 over here because I want to put a camera there. It has a view all the way up to the street. I get really good camera coverage there, and the cameras are power over Ethernet, And so I'm gonna run a line there. I'm just not quite sure how I'm gonna get it to that spot yet. You see, there's that big giant chunk of steel there. So I'm probably gonna come down through these joists, and then kind of behind that parallam, I think there's a space that we can work with there. And then I want another CAT6 to run above that window. I'm not going to immediately put a camera there, but I want the option later on. I'm thinking I'm gonna run the wire through the attic and come down up above it, because I don't want it to deal with all of this stuff. I don't want to deal with the parallam. I don't want to deal with drilling 75 holes through every single joist. I just want it to be easier. I'm going to use more wire, but at the end of the day, it will still be easier. Up here on the second floor, I've got all of the conduits connected. I made these holes bigger so that I could fit the conduit through the holes, and then just kind of ran the conduits up into each other. And since none of this matters, I decided to just put duct tape where they join instead of couplers, because what's the point? I mean, none of this needed to be done. None of this needed to be done. This was like way overkill, way more than I needed. But it was kind of fun, pretty satisfying, I guess. And here is where it gets a little bit interesting, because I have this single line that I've run. This single line is going to run to an access point that is going to come out of the ceiling above that window. Now, I chose to put it over the window because, well, I wanted it over here, but it turned out that I cut the blue tubing too short. So it was a little bit of compromise, but it's going to be just fine, kind of dead center over that window. And it's going to be great for coverage. And then up here, you can see in the attic that I have run the conduits pretty neatly. I mean, it's not perfect, and you can see it gets a little more chaotic towards the end there, but this run looks super pro. I'm really happy with how that came out. So shame on me for not recording this progress, because some of the most amazing stuff is happening right now. As you can see, we've got paper, we've got wire, we're gonna have stucco very soon. My contractor also added that vent for the attic on both sides of the garage. I do have to get up there and paint that, which means that at some point I need to get some etching primer. I need to get up there, prime it, and paint it. Well, actually, I'm going to paint it after the stucco is done. But on the other side, we don't have scaffolding. We're going to go take a look at it right now. But over here, the scaffolding is torn down. And that is because we've got some progress on the stairs. And it's meaningful. So we've got here, we've got some bithutene. Is it bithutene? Well, it's a substrate. And wire. It's all stapled down. But up here, oh yeah. Oh yeah. We've got the first of many layers of, I don't know what this is. It's like a concrete, basically. And I think there's going to be 7 layers here. And it is so nice. I mean, this is going to look awesome when it's done. And the stairs are nice and wide now that all that crap is taken down. I don't have all that plastic or weights on the plastic. I don't have to worry about rolling my ankle or falling off the stairs. This is so good. And so once the stairs are done, the scaffolding goes back up and they finish the paper and then they do stucco. And once the scaffolding is back up, I can get back up there and do that vent as well. So basically, I'm going to wait for the scaffolding to go back up to do both vents at once. But in the meantime, I got to go get the materials to go do that. And on the inside, well, we've got scaffolding. I've got a lot of cleanup to do because if the inspector's going to come over and inspect the rough electrical, I want to leave a good impression. So not only is it going to mean cleaning up the mess, it's also going to mean getting all of these conduits mounted to where they're supposed to go. I have to finish this project. I have been slacking on this for a while now, and it's not really slacking, but I have had my time and attention taken away on other projects, namely my cars. So I'm going to go back and hopefully finish my car. We're going to work on that and come back here very, very soon. We have stairs! We have stairs!
A staircase! We have stairs!
Huh? This is awesome! So there's one coat left to do on these stairs, but as you can see, they've put the texture on it, and it looks like some kind of fiberglass because I see some fibers here. I mean, I don't know how stairs are done. I assume it's some kind of fiberglass. They did a great job. They look awesome. They're nice and level. I mean, there's a little bit of wavies here and there, but I think that's going to be resolved in the final coat. And honestly, it's stairs. Like, really, come on. Not that big of a deal. This is so cool. We do need to put railings in. I'm going to go with a very basic railing. You don't want to spend a lot of money on it. I really can't afford it, even if I wanted to do something fancy. And the walls, of course, we are waiting. Well, now that stairs are done, papering and wiring and getting this thing ready for stucco back here is the next step. So I was wrong about that being the last layer. This appears to be the last layer because it is actually colored. And this is actually pretty close to the color that I wanted the stucco to be. So this is awesome. And they've put the scaffolding backed up, which means it is just about time for me to get up there and to paint those vents. But before we do that, let's check in because I have finished all of the CAT6 installation in this building. You see here, I have run conduit into couplers and I have screwed everything down very nicely. And this line, which was running wild, is now screwed into the ceiling right alongside its neighboring conduit. And it's just, I don't know. To me, I think this looks amazing. Here's the thing. When I started this project, you heard me saying stuff like, this doesn't matter, none of this matters. And you know what? It doesn't matter in terms of inspection. The inspector shouldn't care about any of this because this is not bound to any code. But it matters to me personally, being a DIY enthusiast. This is a project that I took up and I wanted to do a good job on it. And that's why every time I would take a picture of what I'm doing and someone would say, you know how you can make this better? And I go, oh no. But at the end of the day, I'd go out and I would take that advice and I would go make it better because after I got that idea in my head, I started looking at it and went, you know, couplers really would make this look better. I said, you know what? Conduit would really make this look better. Oh, you know what? Getting this mounted to the ceiling instead of running along the ceiling joists would make it look a lot better. It was a matter of my own pride and doing things that I am proud of. Oh, look at that. I mean, this is a little bit, doesn't give me the greatest feelings in the world, but once this is all in with the keystone plates and all that, I think it's going to be just fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all. We're going to roll the server rack back in here and start running keystones. It's gonna be great. So that is going to wrap it up for this video. Massive updates for this house. Things are moving really fast and it's actually kind of hard to keep up with it, but I'm really happy with the progress, especially with the projects that I am paying money for. To pay for something and actually get the results from that is, I mean, it's something I'm not used to, and it's something I could get used to. So if you like what you see, as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment. And if you don't like what you see, maybe you're a networking professional and you think there is something that I could do that is better, leave a comment, let me know, because I may tear this whole building down if you say something. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.